wanna rock right now. I wanna rock right now. I wanna rock right now. Rock right now. I wanna rock right now.
Mecca like a high, make a G.I. Joe. Welcome to the show. Today we have my boy Kenneth from the Indigenous Enterprise crew. And his style is Southern style fancy war dance. Native brother. I'm excited to talk to him and learn more about the culture. Let's go. Yo, my brother. What up? My brother. Good to see you. You too, man. Thanks for doing this, bro. No problem. Yes, sir. My brother Kenneth.
Yeah, man.
It's beautiful to see another brother on the other side of the world. You know,
Absolutely, our first time here.
we've rocked on several occasions. We were at Standing Rock together. We did, a couple videos. The Standing Rock video. We did the One World video. We did Indigenous Peoples Day. So we have a kindred spirit connection. I consider you family. So it's an honor to have you on the show.
Always.
Yeah, man. For the viewers out there, I want people to know like a little bit of history, your history, how you got started, what inspired you to dance.
I started out with my mom, so she brought me around the powwow circle when I was 2 years old, and I started dancing around and learned through her. She was a dancer, she was a fancy shawl dancer back in the day.
Can you tell the viewers that may not know about what powwow means or what it is?
Back in North America and Canada, the powwows are a gathering of a bunch of Native American tribes from all over the country, and we share social dances, and we all gather around dancing to our grandfather. Now, the grandfather is known as the drum, and the drum represents the heartbeat of our people, so it's supposed to be running through everybody, and it kind of represents healing to us. So that's what the whole idea of a powwow is. That's what it is. It's healing. So everybody goes over there. For me personally, when I'm dancing, it's a healing. So I'm connecting to Mother Earth through my movements, and whenever I'm moving my feet, and whenever I'm dancing around, it's supposed to be healing. And not only that, our dances as well, a lot of them heal people. So people that are kind of feeling sick and kind of people going through a hard time, and when they see us dancing and they see us moving, it makes them feel better and uplifts them. So the powwow, in a sense, is a very, very beautiful place for Native Americans to gather around and just socialize, connect with family and friends and people that we haven't seen in a long time. So there's all different types of dances that go into competing. So there's a traditional dance, men's fancy dance, the grass dance, the traditional dance, the women's northern traditional, the women's fancy shawl. Even going into the East Coast tribes, there's smoke dance. That's really a big movement over in the East Coast side. And then on the Jingle Dress side, there's also like the old style and also the contemporary style. So there's all these different dances that go around to both men and women. They compete, and a lot of them is friendly competition. Some of them will be able to get prize money, and some of them I've seen people like win cars, and some people like walk around with all different types of rewards.
Can you explain like why we wear regalia when we go into these powwows?
Absolutely. So yeah, we wear these regalias to be able to kind of represent our different tribes and our different ancestors that go into it. So for mine, for example, this is known as the fancy war dance, and it comes to us from the Oklahoma, the Ponca, and Comanche Nation, and it's supposed to be representative of a horse. So whenever you see me dancing, it's supposed to be representing kind of like the fast-paced, quick footwork movement. And so when I'm dancing, all this application and beadwork and all this stuff that my aunties and grandmas made goes into that to represent that old style. And every dancer is different. They all have their unique, different color selection, different beadwork, and it's all up to their personal style. This represents water, and then this represents fire, and this is the sun. And then right here in the center is the eagle feathers, because Native American people, we hold the eagle feather very, very sacred to us as people, and we always hold that bird very honoring. And so all this is representative of everything that goes into human life, and what one thing goes into the other, and kind of how we need that balance of both to be able to sustain life.
Tell us how you got into dancing though, beyond, like it being part of your family and being part of like you going to the gatherings. Like, was there dancing outside of that experience? Like, was there Michael Jackson, or was it James Brown, or was it like Chris Brown, or other dancers that inspired you?
Yeah, I always found like dancers from the hip-hop community, kind of like the way that their movements are. Sometimes their footwork and a lot of stuff that they do, I try to implement that sometimes into my fancy dancing to be able to kind of get some of the inspiration from not just them, but even some other dancers too. Like I've seen like ballet dancers, the way that they kind of raise their foot, and it's really smooth. So dancing to me is like all universal. It's just kind of different ways of styling it, and I use that a lot and kind of get inspiration from all different parts of the world.
Let's talk more about obstacles that you face. being a native dancer, especially when you go to different parts of the world, and maybe it's not as accessible, maybe it's not as informed and educated about the history, the ancestry, and some people may look at it like, oh wow, that's a great, what is that? Can you speak on that? Because I want folks that may not know about Native culture, Indian country, to be aware and to be well informed.
Absolutely. I wouldn't say it's kind of like obstacles, but kind of just something that's been happening since like the form of the U.S. and even some parts of Europe. Is that it even goes back to elementary school of history being taught to our kids, and they don't teach the real history.
Yeah, of course.
That's like one of the big things that I've been kind of learning about as I'm going forward, is that the education system, they don't talk about the genocide of Native American people. They just kind of just have this brief little like paragraph of Native Americans that were here, blah blah blah. They gave
Pilgrims.
They gave the land this little Thanksgiving feast. And everywhere I go around the world, I'm always caught with that narrative because people are just so ignorant, and it's not their fault. You know what I mean? It's just like the way the education system is being brought up to them is that they don't know, and it's just something that I've been trying to push forward in my company to be able to share with them. Hey, this is not what you see Pocahontas or Peter Pan, those Disney Hollywood interpretation. This is what a real Native American looks like, and kind of educating them on our values.
Yeah. Growing up, because I'm half, like I said, my grandfather's from Sonora, Mexico, and my grandma's from Jerome, Arizona, Native woman. It's like I was always in a kind of like in between of like, who am I? Where do I come from? What I represent? But when I found out about both cultures having the indigenous side and the history of the way that colonization has happened, I started understanding that I can live that dual life of understanding both sides, but appreciating and being of service not only to the ancestry of my grandfather, but specifically my grandmother, because I grew up with her. I didn't grow up with my grandfather. I grew up in East LA, predominantly Mexican or Chicano community. But what I know about myself now is that I'm a student of my own ancestry and my own culture. And I have no shame. I'm an unapologetic Native when it comes to learning and educating myself. Especially when people ask me, it's like, I don't know everything, but I want to learn. And I humbly say that. I say that to folks, especially when we're doing keynote speaking engagements or we're in Indian country around doing different events. People are like, well, how long have you been, da-da-da-da, and they try to like dissect you and slice and dice you. But I come at it on a humble tip because I'm still learning about myself. And I meet people like yourself who inspire me to continue educating myself. I'm so proud of this kid. This kid is like my little bro, and I'm honored to have him. I'm actually excited for the folks to witness your dancing, the beauty, the culture, what it represents. Ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into it. Kenneth, Indigenous Enterprise, Freestyle Fridays.
Sir,
let's go.
Stand up with the First Nations and our people that been living here for thousands of years. Stand up. We've been fighting for our freedom since the Nina and the Pinta and the Santa Maria. Stand up. Like Geronimo, Sitting Bull, Red Cloud, Crazy Horse, Leonard Peltier. Stand up. Now they poisoning the waters for our sons and our daughters, so we on the frontier. We won. One nation, one cause, one people, one tribe. Now it's us against the pipeline. Get on your feet for Standing Rock, and we'll show you how strong we could be when we unify.
To all my native people, recognize yourself, keep your head up. To all my tribal people, recognize yourself, keep your head up. To all my native people.
Standing Rock to London. My brother Kenneth, Indigenous Enterprise, holding it down. Freestyle Fridays.
Keep your head up.